Okay, looks like we are live, recording live from Arlington, Vermont. I am Happy Valley Hobbies, doing hobbies that make me happy. And now that the hard drive has stopped being at 100%, that means I can actually do stuff. So, hello there. Let's see who showed up first. Looks like Curly showed up first, then Wigwag, and then Rail Artist. And I think that's it at this point in time. It says 5 are watching, so someone didn't put anything in. There's someone lurking in the background, which is okay. I've been sort of for the past couple of weeks, been sort of, talking about my misadventures of, hello there, Dave NSB at BNSF N Scale. Thank you for coming in. For the past couple of weeks, I've been sort of talking about my ever so fun, once a decade car shopping spree. It is now over. I now have a new car. When I test drove it, it had 4 miles on the odometer. And I have a tendency to be the last person to own it. When I buy a vehicle, I have a tendency to be the last one to own it. The Honda Fit that I had over 202,000 miles on it. I bought it. It had 31,000 miles on it. It was a lease car originally. But this is a brand new car. I'm very indebted to a friend of mine that they wound up inheriting money, which was sort of a sad thing because, in order for her to get the money, unfortunately, a year ago, both her parents relatively passed away within 3 months of each other. So apparently her and her brother got a lot of inheritance. And apparently she asked her finance person, how can she buy a friend of hers a car? Because she always thought the Honda Fit that I had was a sort of a death trap. But it's one of those things of I am flabbergasted and very honored that she wanted to buy a car for me. I wound up buying a Trailblazer 2003, and it looks like thought my YouTube chat died because the chat on the live stream, which seems to be, I want to say maybe about 10 seconds behind or something like that. But it's a white. Interestingly, it was the only new car that I was able to actually get a hold of. All the other dealerships in the area, they didn't have any new cars. I was actually originally, when I finally made a decision, it was going to be a Volkswagen Taos. But since I didn't put a reserve on it, say, hey, here's some money to reserve for it. It was bought underneath me. Yeah, Honda to Chevy, yes. Actually, the runner-up was a Honda. I think it's a CRV. Apparently, they don't make the Fit anymore, and the CRV is sort of like the next. Was the sort of the took over for that. Now, normally I would buy an Econo box, because it gets great gas mileage and all that. However, moving to Vermont, do you like it? Do you like your CRV? I was, basically when I first moved to Vermont, I noticed my coworkers, at the place I was working at the time, there were either 4x4s or Subarus. And after my first winter here, I understand why. I originally from the Albany, New York area. So the thing is I'm used to, how New York plows its roads. Vermont does not do so much. There's been a couple of times that it also doesn't help that Vermont's also all right, 2015. All right. Yeah, I would have to say I had no real issues with the Honda. What was happening is that something annoying would not work. Let's see, the rear, the window behind the driver wouldn't go up and down. It's like, but since I drive by myself, okay, the most annoying thing is that the rear hatch, the connector wound up, and I guess it's a common problem that it wound up freezing. It was made out of steel, so it rusted, and then eventually it just didn't work anymore. But that was a runner-up. Again, I think that it was a lease unit, so that had 33,000 already on it. Five of the last vehicles have been Hondas. Yeah, I would say Honda's a decent car. It was my first foreign car. The thing is that my father was very pro-American, and so I turned around and followed in my father's footsteps, and I've always had bought American nameplates. However, my first vehicle was a Dodge D50, which was a rebadged Mitsubishi. The second car I had was a Chevy Impala, built in Canada. Next one was a Dodge Dakota, built in Canada. Next one was a Geo Metro, parts from Japan, assembled in Canada. Next one was a PT Cruiser. It wasn't made in Canada. It was made in Mexico, the other border. Then I wound up, when that wound up giving up the ghost, a friend of mine gave me their 1990 Mercury Sable, which was currently the only vehicle that I've owned that was American made. It was made in Tennessee. Hello there, race fan. Thank you for coming in. Right now, sort of kind of going over the history of vehicles that I've had. And then let's see. Then I wound up buying the Honda, which was yep. All right, that sounds like a good thing, Rail Artist. Yeah, hardly anything is purely American. I would have to say. I mean, I would buy something that was I would buy something that would be an quote American car, and find out that it's not. Well, it's North American, not necessarily American. Then my current the new Trailblazer I just got. I'm trying to think now. It's not American. I think it's Korean. I mean, it sort of kind of looks almost like a the front end looks like more Toyota than Chevy. But ooh, yeah, I was gonna say made he. So yeah, I was like, that didn't quite look right. With spaghetti and butter with a garlic base. Thanks. I think you're starting to make me hungry. Yes, I have gotten a Trailblazer. Um, it was sort of like it seemed to be the only new car available. All the other cars I looked at were all used because of I guess they haven't been able to get new cars in southwestern Vermont. But I would have to say originally it was going to be the Taos with the CRV was a very close second. One thing that it was one that it was a used car, which actually was actually more than the new car. That was one thing that sort of kind of had when a used car is more than 2006. I believe the 2006 Trailblazer is a different beast because I think I get the impression that this particular Trailblazer being Korean made might be, I think it's either it's one of the eastern places. I want to say either Taiwan, Korea. It's in that particular direction. Because there was when I was looking at the sales thing, it actually broke down where things were put, where it was this, where the parts were, where it was assembled. Not much was in America. I sort of gave up on trying to buy an American car because every time I turn around, every time I looked at something, it was not made in this country. If I had the money, thing is, I didn't quite have enough money to actually get what I really wanted, which was a Ford Lightning. But basically, there wasn't enough money available to buy an electric car. But as much as I wanted one, it just was not in the cards this time. So maybe 10 years from now, when I trade whatever's left of this particular vehicle, I did not really get much for the Honda because it was pretty. The only thing that was new on it was the tires, and it was one of those things that go on it's like, oh well, what can we get, what kind of trade-in value? the general manager's looking like 250. It's like pretty much the tires and whatever gas they were able to siphon out of it, because the only thing that wasn't wore out on it, because I drove it by myself, was the passenger seat. Where's the passenger seats? The driver's seat was pretty well worn. The shocks were gone. The AC just recently stopped working. It was one of the cylinders were misfiring on it, so it's just one of those 200. Basically what had happened is that when we had that major storm that went through Vermont, we had to evacuate work, and I had to actually drive through water. And after, it's at 202,000 miles on it, going through the water, the car just basically said, "Yeah, I'm done." So that will get, wound up This is my first all-wheel drive car, mainly because of, as I said earlier, Vermont doesn't take care of their roads during the winter time, so that's why a lot of people in Vermont have either a 4x4 truck or a Super or something that's all-wheel drive, because that it's for that 1 or 2 months of the year you need all four wheels to be driven. Well, hello there, Ray Ron. Haven't quite seen you around much. Thank you for coming in. I guess we're wind up being on different streams and all that, but I think, recently I think I actually saw you on someplace else. But got a new car, and I'm, I got it last Saturday, so I'm still, adjusting everything, going like, all right, how does this move? It's like, how does this move and all that, and etc. So, trying to adjust the mirrors and this, that, and etc. And it's normally I would go for a base model, but they didn't have a base model available. They had the next one up and all that, so it had some bells and whistles that, not sure if I, someone said, "Ooh, fancy." It's like, I usually don't go for the fancy stuff, but when, ooh, you were at the NMRA show. How was it? And hello there, Wigwag. Thanks for coming in. It's one of those things of, how much was it? Well, the thing is, I did have when I first was starting to look, I threw in a budget of, okay, this is what I would like to have. And then when, I'm trying to think what would be the correct term. A friend of mine that basically became my sponsor for a new vehicle, because she did not like the vehicle that I was working with, and it was twice as much as that I was expecting. Now the thing is that what she did not, she didn't pay for the entire car. It was slightly over what it was worth, but I was willing to put in a certain amount to get the vehicle. I think, if I remember correctly, the original the MSRP, as they put it on there, I think was 28 something, but that was for the base model. This was not the base model, so it was. No, wait a second. It was 28 and some change and all that. But then you got taxes, fees and all that. So that kicked it up to over 30,000. Not by much. But the thing is, I'm also getting some accessories that I'm paying for because it wound up going over the price which she was willing to give me money for. So, plus the thing is, my insurance has gone up and all that. So I don't know exactly what the finance price is. But it was cheaper than the Honda, the used Honda with 30,000 on it, which was, that was around 33,000. So I'm thinking it's like, it's like getting a new car cheaper than a old one was basically a good thing, because getting having a new car warranty and etc. and all that's much better than a used car warranty. Uh, Plus, the dealership is closer to where I live. It's in Manchester, Vermont. The other ones, there's only one dealership in Manchester, but there's also there's a lot of dealerships in Bennington, but that's about twice the distance away. So, well, that's the interesting thing, Ray Ron, is that I had a benefactor she despised what my car was. And she, last year, after both her parents passed away, her and her brother wound up getting an inheritance. And I guess she was planning on buying me a new car when I decided to do so. So, this is the first time correction. This is not it. I was going to say this is the first time. It's been the first time in a while that I hadn't had to worry about interest rates, because there's some cars in the past I've gotten lucky and not have to, was able to buy a car outright. This is the first new car that I've been able to buy outright. But it's. I buy a car once a decade, so it's one of those things of when my benefactor said, "Hey, could I buy you a car?" I'm like, "Hey." It's one of those things of it took me a second or two to go, yes, mainly because of it. It threw me off. I was not expecting someone to be willing to hand me that much money. But I'm not. I haven't had a new truck since 2011. Well, I'm trying to think now. That was used. I think the Geo Metro, was the last time I had a new car. Everything else has been used. And the funny thing is that this seems to the Trailblazer actually seems to have a lot more in common to the Geo Metro than the Fit, because I always joked that the Fit was a the child of the PT Cruiser and the Geo Metro, because it was the shape of the Geo Metro, but it was the size of the PT Cruiser. This is, let's see, the Trailblazer, I want to say it's probably bigger than the PT Cruiser. That's one of the things of realizing that this is a little bit larger than I'm used that I've had for a while. So I have to sort of realize that. Yeah, I would have to say I've driven a clown car. That's what the Geo Metro was. The car was so small it couldn't fit a 4-cylinder in it. The funny thing is that the Trailblazer is a much larger vehicle, but it still has an inline 3. An inline 3 turbo with a 7-speed transmission. I never had a transmission with that many gears in it before. And I think that's, having such a small, I'm not quite sure if it's a small engine, because the number of cylinders doesn't necessarily mean it's a small vehicle or a small engine, because you can have a pretty large engine, and there's a I know where there's a Well, usually when I think of a clown car, Dwight, is that it's a small car and there's clowns constantly coming out of it. Uh, the PT Cruiser, that was more. I guess they call it retro style, because it was supposed to be something from the post World War II. Yeah. The thing is, I could see that because it was such an odd style. Such an odd style that I understand that people thought it looked odd and weird and all that. Apparently, there was a uh, unofficial rival between people who owned the PT Cruiser and people who owned the Pontiac Aztec or whatever it was, which was sort of like the exact opposite of the PT Cruiser. Each one saying that the other car was ugly. But I want to say the PT Cruiser, I mean, this is just my opinion, is that it was a very well thought out design, just not executed very well. There, I liked on how the thing was set up, design wise. The seats can fold down, they could fold up, they can be taken completely out. It was a flat bed. It had a shelf in the back that can go multiple levels. It was the way it was designed was very, in my opinion, very well thought out. Unfortunately, they when they actually put it into production, it looked like they cut a lot of corners on it. So that was the annoying part about it. But the Trailblazer is larger than the PT Cruiser. I'm not quite sure how well. Funny thing about the HHR, the one who apparently the gentleman that designed the PT Cruiser eventually went over to was sort of grabbed by General Motors to build the HHR. I had a chance to drive an HHR, and I could see where they tried to copy what the PT Cruiser was, but because a lot of things were proprietary and IP and all the differences in how things were, legally couldn't be copied, because, well, PT Cruiser was its own thing, and they tried to do the same thing with the HHR, but not doing it quite right because they couldn't quite copy it. Like the shelving unit, it had a multiple level shelving unit, but it only had 2 positions where the PT Cruiser had 4. And I don't think the seats could fold down, but I don't think they could come out. It's basically, and also it also had a vanity engine cover. Basically, which I was like, seriously, you got a vanity engine cover to cover up the engine to make it look pretty? It's like, that's what the hood is for. But that's just my opinion. Well, I think it's time to switch over cameras. Let's see. Settings. Switch over cameras. And we'll throw some glue on stuff. All right. All right, with the diorama, we are still we are still adding scenery. Let's see now. This time I'm going to be adding the sub-road bed. All right. Trying to see about getting stuff a little bit more level. All right. This needs to be clamped. All right. Big clamp. Big clamp. Where's the big clamps? Okay. Need the big clamps to sort of level this out a bit. Let's see. Will this work? Hit the straight edge. Looks like I need 2 clamps. Unfortunately, I think the clamps are right out of the viewing area, but they are over there. All right. Now, before we glue everything down, let's double check to make sure everything's going to be fine. Okay, so all right. Now let's use some paint as glue. All right. Now, let's. All right. A very cheap acid brush. And we'll use this as paint or as a glue, because not many people realize that they can use paint as glue. But if anyone has painted something and then all of a sudden realize that, oh, wait a second, this will not come out, we'll realize that, yes, you can use paint as glue. All right. So, got that. Then we'll add some actual glue. Sort of fill up the gaps. Put that there. And on this side, take the clamps off so we can turn around and paint this. Let's put this out of the way so we don't accidentally paint on it. And we'll throw some paint on the wood itself. There. Put this back here. Move that up there. Put these back over here. Might have to. One second. I have to throw some regular gap. No, I guess gap filling glue. Ooh, that's not. I realized I just had to forget. I forgot the stuff off at Tractor Supply. Oh well. Okay. All right. All right. That looks straight. Just double check to make sure everything is straight. It's probably as straight as it's going to get. That's one thing about having this as a diorama, is that if it's not perfect, not really aiming to actually have this, to be driven on. But looks like this is not really standing out. Oh, it's not even really touching stuff either. it's only touching basically one part, so that's got to be changed. Trying to figure out where other parts this is touching. So we can actually have it be able to be glued down. All right. So of course, got to hold this up in the air. It's still wet. All right, let's try this towards the end. Let's see how well hold there. Because looks like it's not really touching. So let's try this again. All right. Bridge. All right. No, I am not putting this on the layout. This is just a diorama. Unfortunately, with the way my layout is set up, I have no. There's no place for really a water feature. So, well, with this particular my current layout, I would have to say there's no place for a water feature. And I've bought some bridges, so this is so I can basically practice on stuff, and also have a place for where I can have a place for to put the bridges that I bought. And so that's, and also dioramas are also good to practice on things, because I haven't really done scenery before. So that's one of the reasons why I'm doing these dioramas, to basically play around with how scenery works. And then when I do it on the actual layout, I already know what how to correct any mistakes that if I make any. Like right here, how to how do I blend in how do I blend in a seam? Because this was originally the diorama was this particular diorama was originally this big, but then I decided to make it much larger, and try to see if I can blend in between the old and the new. And that's what I'm doing here, trying to blend where the seams are, so you won't be able to see where the seams were. Not quite sure how well I've done that. But Yeah, and that's just it. Trying to, figure out, what to do. Uh, it's like, ooh, I want to add this and all that, and then it's like going like, how do I do that? Because it's not gonna, uh, it just won't fit. Uh, Also, dioramas is also good for, in my opinion, if you want to try something different, but it's not going to fit on your layout. Uh, I mean, this I would have to say if I had the room, something like this would go on the layout, to add a little variety and stuff like that. But my layout is right now not large enough to have something like this. Uh, but eventually, if I do get the room and all that, this is uh, also I sort of hopefully designed it so I can take the bridge out, and if I can turn around and put it someplace else. Uh, and I think I might have successfully done that because I was able to remove the bridge so I wouldn't damage it while adding more stuff to it. So I think I was successful that way, being able to take the bridge off, and then be able to add on to this. So I know if I do wind up with a position where, okay, I have a layout where I can actually put you know turn around and have this bridge on the layout, I could take it off the diorama and then go that direction, and then uh, turn around and have the diorama, after learning the skill, be able to go, yeah, this is the first attempt and all that, and it's ugly, but I tried, and now I can turn around and do something, hopefully do something better. All right, now. All right, now that's back on. Put that on the floor so it doesn't. So there's no way for it to go that direction. But now I am thinking, now that we got that done, is to open into this. This is super moss. Turn around and add some of this in here. Adding more greenery, different types of greenery. All right, these look more like bushes. So maybe put them more towards the track. And also, it's also to turn around and look at stuff to see what makes what. Um, this moss. This actually might. make more sense. We actually have glue on here. I believe Sidetrack Sunday is at Ray's channel tonight. That sort of kind of hides the fact that there's stuff there. All right. Got that there, that there. Let's put one there. If you look at like roaring streams and all that, usually there seems to be trees that are overhanging. A lot of times you're not really there's no hard there isn't a hard edge to a stream, so I'm trying to make it a little bit more look less straight, but it is a challenge. Next week I'm thinking about painting this area black to make a small little pond here, which obviously drains down through here. But I think that's it for tonight. Thanks for everyone for coming in and watching me do silly things and all that. And I'll probably see everyone. Well, Dan, I would have to say with dioramas, you can make them any size you want. I know Bernard over at Mini Prints does have the peanut butter lid challenge, where you're doing a diorama on a peanut butter lid. So you could have a very small a very, very, very small diorama. They don't have to be large. Mine are 2 foot by 1 foot because that's what I decided to go with. But you can go with any, dioramas don't have to be massive. If you're doing if you're doing a massive building or something like that, yes, then you would have to have a large diorama. But dioramas also don't have to be whatever scale. I mean, you can turn around and play with scales if you want. So you can go, practice at Z scale and all that, and then when you're ready to go, whatever scale you're at, then you can turn around and go that direction. So you could dioramas are a lot more flexible than people assume they are. I know. Oh, I can't think of his name. He's an Australian that does dioramas and all that. And they're pretty large dioramas, but they're not layouts because I want to say they're either single track or have no track at all. Oh, and thank you for Dwight for the compliment. I do my best to be entertaining. My sister is the one that went for theater and all that. I went for electronics and technician. So that is that. So it is now 7:48. I'll see everyone over at the. I wanted to say Rick, but that's not Rick. Over at. Hold on 1 second. It's at. Of course, that killed the. All right, it's over at Rainbow Bell's. Rainbow Bell's channel. Restore the chat there. It's at 100, so God only knows what's going to do. So, all right. See you, Dwight, and everybody else, and I'll see you over at Ray's channel. I think the world needs more love, so find your passion, add some silliness to it, and spread it around.